Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
PD Beats here from Popternative, speaking to Christina Brucato about The Menu, which is streaming now on HBO Max and is also streaming in other countries on Disney+. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
I mean, I love this movie. I'm so excited to chat with you about it. I do want to know, because in terms of kind of taking a look at the script for this, does it read like a horror or does that come after? Because I feel like it kind of comes off as like a thriller, but then when you really think about it, this is a horror film with like non-traditional and traditional horror tropes.
I think it reads like all of it. I mean, when I first read it, first of all, it blew my mind. But I was also laughing and I was also scared, and I had nightmares the night that I read it. I was gonna audition for it the next day, and I read it, and I had nightmares about being trapped in a cave restaurant, and I was being held hostage. But I was also laughing. So I don't know the answer.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like it's funny because there's a lot of movies now that they're saying like dark comedies, but then you get in there and it's like it's really just like a horror film with like a few little laughs here and there. It's almost like false advertising.
How is it all subjective, right?
No, but it's so true. There's like Rafe has some lines that are just it's hilarious. Like it's funny.
Taco Tuesday.
Student loans, I think, is what everyone's talking about, right?
I know.
You do such an amazing job. This is like a complex character. This is an important character that we find out if it wasn't for your character,
everyone would go home.
So what is that like? Is there pressure? Is it kind of something you have to prepare for? Like being a role that is so kind of important to the whole story. I'm curious about that.
Well, I mean, we shot this in order.
Yep.
So I was on set for like 5.5 weeks before I said a single word, which was intense.
It's like a build up, right?
There's a build.
So you saw the scripts though, right? Like you knew your stuff was coming. Like you knew, like, did you get the scripts all? Yeah, exactly. So
yeah. Oh yeah. Everybody read the script. Yeah.
No, so there really is a build up for your character then.
Oh yeah. And like, but we're also, we're like this army of chefs in the back, that are like militaristic and, intense and and we all know what's going on, as characters.
Yeah.
So yeah, there is this build. And there's something also brewing in my character, knowing I feel like I spent a lot of time at like the head of the that table in the back, just kind of like watching over people. You can't really see it, but like I kind of like spent a lot of time there just like watching over them, kind of daydreaming about what's to come.
I know it's so crazy. It's also one of these movies that I went in very fresh. Like I don't even think I watched like a full trailer for it. I saw
really?
the trailer, like the little TV snippets here and there, and I was like, I just want to get into this. And it really is an experience. When does it start kind of sinking in from an audience perspective that they're going to be in for a treat with this? Is when you get there and you're starting to kind of block and everything? Is it when you're starting to actually film the scenes with Rafe? Like, I'm just curious. Like, when does it start?
What do you mean? Like,
when does it start sinking in when you're thinking about like, wow, like the audience is really in for a treat for this? Because I feel like it's an experience, this whole movie, like a roller coaster and everything.
Yeah. I mean, for people like you who didn't watch any kind of trailer going into it, I mean, I can only imagine that you have no idea what's about to happen. I mean, it's so chock full of surprises and shock.
That's
right?
what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly. I don't even watch trailers as much anymore, by the way, because I like going in fresh.
Because it'll ruin it for you.
Or like, what if like
it'll give too much away?
Maybe like some trailers like tell you a lot of meat and potatoes of a story.
Sure.
And it's like, no, but to each your own. People watch trailers all they want. I still enjoy watching a trailer, but like I enjoy films a lot more now, Christina, without watching a lot about it.
Yes, just experiencing them blind.
It's so
like
crazy.
let it take you on that journey.
And it's a journey. It's a journey where you might want a cheeseburger at the end of it.
Hell yeah.
Because I did eat some cheeseburgers after watching this movie. Like, I'm not going to lie to you.
After the premiere, they actually had I think they had like a Shake Shack set up for everybody.
Do you? It's funny to think about that. Like, I'm wondering, and maybe afterwards, like when you're at the events, you're talking to everyone, you're thinking like, yeah, cheeseburgers. But like, I'm wondering like if someone like is reading the script, like writing the script for this, being like, there's gonna be a lot of cheeseburger joints are gonna have to thank us for the cheeseburgers.
I mean, they were serving in LA. There was a restaurant I think called Herbs or something.
Yes.
Serving this cheeseburger.
The menu cheeseburger.
The
yes,
menu cheeseburger.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. My next question I feel like is just in general. I mean, what is it like being part of the horror thriller landscape at a time where there is an appetite for a lot of this content? And this content is being created, like there's constant content in horror right now, but it's constant content that's kind of turning the page, like kind of pushing the envelope, so to speak. So what is it like being part of a project at a time where it's at the peak right now? It's so exciting for horror.
I mean, for me, I'm a huge scary movie buff. Like, I mean, I love horror films. So for me, even if it wasn't at a time where it was like at a peak right now, I would be thrilled. I mean, it's like, I love any kind of film that gives me an adrenaline rush and a visceral reaction. And I'm like, if I have to like get up and leave the room and pace a little while, that means that I'm having a really good time.
What's the scariest movie you've ever seen? Can you name that? Because there's a difference between the scariest and the best horror movie you've ever seen. I'm realizing that.
Okay. I think the scariest one that I've ever seen, I'm really into like, is The Conjuring.
Yeah. That's a good one.
I loved The Conjuring. I mean, like also my favorite horror film of all time is The Exorcist. So like I'm into like possession and demons.
That's a great one. The Conjuring, the first one has like some unbelievable scares that are very difficult for sure.
What's yours? You're a horror buff, aren't you?
I am. So it's funny because I have one from years ago, but then I've watched one recently that I think tops it potentially. So the one that was the scariest movie I've ever seen is The Strangers with Liv Tyler.
Okay, that's a good one.
It's terrifying.
That's my friend's favorite, actually, also.
But it's terrifying. I watched Smile recently, and that movie gave me nightmares, and that doesn't happen usually.
I've never seen Smile.
Yeah, it's like terrifying.
Okay.
You've probably seen the advertisements for it. It's the people just smiling like this.
I have.
Yeah. And you know what? It's very hard to make a movie where everyone's saying this is the scariest movie you've ever seen, because that's such expectations. Like I've seen so many movies like The Babadook, right? And like The Witch, and like you go in and like you see like these are the scariest movie. People are walking out of the theaters and you watch it, you're like, this was a scary movie, but I could take it. But, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, but what's that one that I saw where I was like, everyone was raving about it, and I was like, I can see like it looks like face paint on them. It doesn't even like that didn't scare me at all. Everybody has their own threshold, I guess, for what scares them.
Everyone does. There's one I love so in any movie, in any horror movie and thriller, and the menu does this unbelievable because it's very obvious. There's always point of no returns in movies for a lot of the characters. And in this one, the point of no return is, I mean, spoiler alert, but we're not going to go into big deal, is the nest, right? That's like, I feel like the first one where it's like, oh my God, you know what I mean? Like, and he says, relax, it's all part of the menu. That's kind of like the point of no return and everything. For you, like reading certain elements of the script, was it a little bit of a experience in terms of like not being sure like how it's gonna kind of look? Because there's a difference between reading it and actually like shooting it, right?
Yeah, like who's gonna live? I mean, I feel like even when you watch the scene with the women, right? You're like, wait, are they gonna get to go away? Like, are they gonna be saved for, his sins to Catherine? I don't know. Like, a lot of things might go through your mind, right? Are the women gonna be saved? But no. Yeah. I think it can go, it's like choose your own adventure, but.
What can you tell me about filming that scene with Rafe? Where you that's a big scene, right? That's
That was intense. I mean, we're allowed to talk about everything that happens in it, right?
Yeah,
I'm not.
absolutely.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay. So
I put
stabbing,
spoiler
rape.
in the beginning. No, and it's so funny because well, it's out there. Like people can
I
see
know, I
it.
know, I know.
Spoiler alert for people who haven't, but we could talk about it.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah. Like, don't watch this
you
if you haven't
stab
seen it.
Rafe.
Right. I stab Rafe. And yeah, so we were like, I was getting, trained on how to like, lunge and stab and I remember at one point he's like, do it harder. Because it
Whoa.
wasn't, because I felt I didn't want to hurt him at the same
Yeah.
time, but like there was like this rig that I had to use like with like a magnet so that it like, sticks and but he wanted it, he wanted full force. So I gave it.
Did you? Because the answer to this question sometimes is yes. The answer to this question sometimes no. Did you audition for the role you got?
Yeah.
Okay. So was it? How much information was given about the character, not the movie? Like maybe sometime, like I don't really care. Like
I was given the script
Okay, good. Okay, gotcha.
to audition.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not like that. Sometimes I always hear
Yeah, no,
different
sometimes so.
stories.
Sometimes
Yeah.
it's very top secret. No, I was given the script. I remember because before I made my tape, I emailed my agents and I was like, I had nightmares last night, and also it was hilarious.
So is it kind of the mindset of she's part of she's a chef,
Yeah,
might
but
not
there's,
be
you know
all
what,
there,
but
yeah.
you know what, but even so, even having the script, there's so much to dissect. There's so many layers and there's so many choices, right?
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. So
Even though she's only in these like few scenes, there's
yeah, but like
so
the most
many.
pivotal scenes of all time. That scene with all the ladies, like you said, that's like the most important film of the scene of the movie.
I can't believe I was at that table. It was great.
That table is like that's like the most. That's like the closest scene for us kind of figuring out as an audience what is happening. You know what I mean by that?
Right.
Like you're like you reveal
Yeah.
what is going on. I know it's crazy. No,
Crazy. Very lucky.
no, it's huge. If it wasn't for your character, there's no menu. Let's be honest. You came up with it. Like,
You know what? It takes the women to ask the questions, right?
100%. That was
Ask
a
the
great
right
scene.
questions.
Can you tell me more
Amy-
about that scene? Like, what was that scene like? Did it feel like just talking at one point, or like with everyone, or did it feel even more than that?
There was Mark allowed us to like really get into it, and there was a lot of improv that wasn't included, but so some of it was included, but there was a lot of like we really went off just to like get the vibe going at the table,
Yeah.
I mean, it was an amazing day. Yeah, just being able to act off those women.
It's interesting that you guys shot it in sequence. That's very interesting because I know many projects that they don't shoot it in sequence, and I can't even imagine what that experience is like.
I mean, there's such a build for
Yeah.
everyone involved that I think like, and the fact that we are able to shoot everything in one location and it is a soundstage, I think, I mean, it only benefits everybody to be able to have that build. The only scene not the only scene, but maybe one of the only scenes that wasn't in sequence was my speech actually, because that's not in the restaurant, it's outside.
Yes.
So that was my very last day.
Ooh. And then you do that, and they're like, "That's a wrap."
So I'm like, I'm gonna stab you, and then I'm gonna go.
it's like stabbing Rafe, and it's like, "That's a wrap."
Peace out.
That's a wrap, Christina.
I think that was a wrap for most. I think that was a wrap for most people. Yeah, that day.
Oh,
that night.
absolutely. Okay, last question before we wrap up. When they obviously entertainment, they're buckling up for a ride. Those are the obvious answers to this question. But like when they get to watch the menu, because there's many ways, like people in the States can watch it on HBO Max. A lot of countries like Canada and the UK, they can watch it on Disney Plus. It's out there. People can check it out. When they get a chance to watch it, what are you hoping they get out of it, takeaway wise specifically?
Oh, I mean, there's a. I mean, it's a commentary and a satire on
is,
this
yeah.
elite group of people who are being punished for these sins, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, the takeaway. I hope they're able to laugh at themselves and maybe see themselves, or
Yeah.
see. I don't know. The takeaway for me is like I love that this movie so beautifully achieved satire, and horror.
So the commentary, absolutely, 100%.
And the commentary of what's going on. And also the appreciation for what the culinary industry does.
Yeah.
Because it's a grueling industry, and people take it for granted, even though they, throw their money at it. And I don't know. I hope people have more of an appreciation for that, because I learned a lot.
There's been a lot of content in that kind of worlds now too. Like FX is the Bear. I don't know if
Yes.
And there was a movie I watched called Boiling Point recently about a night, which is pretty crazy, about like Christmas Eve at a big restaurant and everything happening. No, it's great to see that. Absolutely. Christina, thank you so much for joining me on Popternative. This was so great chatting with you.
Thank you for having me. Tell Joe I said hi.
Shout out, Joe. So HBO Max in the States, the menu, and then Disney Plus Canada and UK. It's out there. Your Instagram account, is it just your name? Is it just Christina Brucato?
It's Chrissy Brucato.
Perfect. So they can keep update there. Awesome. Well, this has been Popternative. YouTube.com/Popternative. Previous episodes, you of course can catch Christina Brucato in the menu. Until next time, this is Christina and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.